had one of those moments? You know where you say the exact opposite of what you mean.
Hmm.
Or you walk into a room absolutely sure you had something with you, and poof, it's just gone. We tend to just laugh it off, right? Blame it on being tired or stressed. But have you ever stopped to wonder if there's maybe something more going on there? Could these little everyday mistakes, these blunders, actually be clues, little hints about what's really happening under the surface of our minds?
Well, it's a fascinating thought, isn't it, that maybe they aren't just random glitches in the system. Our main source for this deep dive is Sigmund Freud's A General Introduction to Psychoanalysis. And he puts forward this really compelling idea. He suggests that these things, slips of the tongue, forgetting things, misplacing items, they're not accidents at all. They're actually meaningful sort of messages bubbling up from our unconscious.
Exactly. And if you're listening and thinking, yeah, I find this stuff fascinating, but who has time to wade through dense books? Well, think of this as your shortcut. We're diving into Freud's ideas here, trying to pull out those key insights, those aha moments, the ones that give us a maybe different perspective on, why we do these quirky little things we do.
Right. So our mission today is really to unpack the psychological weight behind these everyday errors. We'll be using Freud's framework to explore why our words sometimes seem to betray us, why our memory can be so selective, and why our keys seem to develop legs sometimes.
Okay, let's get into it. Freud kicks things off by, pushing back against a pretty standard idea back then. The idea that if you had a psychological issue, it had to stem from something physical, right? Like a problem with the brain itself.
That's right. He argued that psychological disturbances weren't always or solely about organic problems. He really opened the door to the idea that our minds, our experiences, could be the source. And crucially for us today, he believed that these small errors, the kind everyone makes, could actually be a way in, a way to start understanding bigger psychological patterns or problems, like tiny windows onto larger processes.
So they're not just weird quirks, they're potentially signals, clues pointing toward how our minds actually work on a deeper level. And this next part is, it's huge, isn't it? His idea about consciousness. Freud basically said, what we're aware of thinking. That's just the tip of the iceberg.
Precisely. Introducing the concept of the unconscious, this huge hidden realm of thoughts, desires, memories, conflicts that we're not directly aware of, but which still drive our behavior that was, revolutionary. It fundamentally shifted how science and really how we think about the mind.
Okay, this is where it gets really juicy. Let's talk about slips of the tongue. Freud called them parapraxis. We've all done it. You mean to say one thing and something totally different, sometimes embarrassing, just pops out. Freud didn't think these were just random noise.
No, absolutely not. He was convinced that these slips, these parapraxes, were meaningful psychic acts. He saw them as revealing underlying thoughts or intentions, things lurking just beneath the conscious surface. It's almost like our true feelings, or maybe a conflicting thought, momentarily slip past our internal censor.
Yeah, and he gives some great examples where the slip says the exact opposite of what was intended, like the hidden truth just bursts out.
Exactly. And often the slip itself has a very clear, sensible meaning, even if it wasn't the intended one. It betrays a hidden thought. He mentioned one where someone blending take and sorry came out with steak. You can almost feel the underlying conflict there, right? Or the example of someone meaning to say something was revealed, but it came out refiled, mixed with filthy, suggesting perhaps an unconscious negative judgment about what was being revealed.
Oh, that's brilliant. It's like the subconscious just couldn't help itself. And wasn't there that awkward one trying to offer an escort but saying inscort?
Yes, a perfect blend of escort and insult. Pretty clearly highlighting some underlying, maybe unconscious hostility or rudeness.
It really shows how a hidden feeling can just sneak out.
Absolutely. And there's that funny one, too, about proposing a toast and saying, hiccup the health of the leader. It injects this unexpected and disrespectful image right into a formal moment. A little flicker of maybe irreverence making its way through.
It's like our internal editor just blinked and the real thought peeked out in disguise. So Freud thought there were specific conditions that made these slips happen. It wasn't just being tired or something.
Well, tiredness or distraction might make them more likely, but Freud believed the core reason was different. He said a key factor is the suppression of an intention. You have an idea you want to express, but there's another interfering intention, maybe one you've consciously pushed away. And that interfering thought manages to distort the words you intended to say. It's like mental crosstalk.
Right, so there's a kind of mini battle going on between what we want to say consciously and something else in the background trying to interrupt. And he did talk about sounds, didn't he? Like similar sounding words make it easier,
Yeah.
but that wasn't the cause.
Exactly. That's a really important distinction. Similar sounds or word associations can provide the pathway, the opportunity for a particular slip to occur, but they don't explain the why. They don't explain the meaning or the driving force behind it. That force, according to Freud, is the suppressed, interfering intention. The sound similarity is just the mechanism it uses sometimes.
Okay, okay. Let's shift gears. What about forgetting? When our memory just seems to fail us. Freud didn't think forgetting a name or a plan was just, having a bad memory day, did he?
No, he suggested that forgetting, especially that temporary kind where you blank on a familiar name or forget you were meant to do something, often signals an antipathy, a dislike, basically, either directly toward the person or thing forgotten, or sometimes indirectly related. It's like our mind is actively pushing it away.
Can you give an example to make that clear?
Sure. He talks about a Mr. Y who keeps forgetting the name of Mr. X. And it turns out Mr. X was a former suitor of Mr. Y's wife. Freud saw that as Mr. Y's unconscious wish to just erase his rival, mentally speaking. Or another example. A woman who keeps calling an acquaintance by her maiden name, perhaps showing an unconscious resistance to accepting her friend's marriage.
Wow. So the forgetting isn't passive. It's an active, although unconscious act of pushing something away. What about forgetting where you put things? Like losing your keys or wallet. That's not just absent-mindedness either.
Following the same logic, Freud linked forgetting or mislaying objects to unconscious motives too. Maybe you secretly want to get rid of the object it's damaged, you want a new one, you just don't like it. Or maybe it's tied to a person or a memory you find unpleasant. Forgetting it is like unconsciously trying to discard that connection.
Right. He had that story about the book, didn't he? The guy mislaid a book his wife gave him, and it only turned up again when his positive feelings towards her came back. That seems like a very direct link between emotion and losing something. And mislaying things generally fits this pattern, an unconscious wish to lose it.
Exactly. Mislaying things, just like forgetting names or plans, often points to an unconscious intention to lose the object. The specific reasons can vary a lot. Maybe you want an excuse to buy a replacement, maybe it reminds you of someone you're annoyed with. But the underlying idea is a psychological drive to be rid of it. Freud even suggested that sometimes dropping or breaking things might serve the same unconscious purpose.
This is all incredibly fascinating, but I can also see how you could start seeing hidden meanings in everything. Did Freud warn about that? About maybe overdoing the interpretation?
Oh, absolutely. He definitely emphasized the need for caution and restraint. He was clear that just because two things look psychologically similar doesn't mean they are the same in reality. An interpretation might seem plausible, but it's not always definitive. There can be ambiguity, other factors involved. You can't just jump to conclusions.
Right. So a healthy dose of critical thinking is needed. We shouldn't assume we know someone's deepest secrets just because they forgot where they park. He also mentioned seeing these errors as omens, didn't he? That sounds a bit superstitious.
He did touch on that idea, the temptation to read these little mistakes as signs or predictions about the future, revealing secret intentions that way. But he also acknowledged that this could easily slide into superstition. While the errors reveal something about our inner state, they aren't necessarily crystal balls for external events.
So wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway from this Freudian deep dive into our everyday slip-ups? What's the core message?
I think the central point is that these seemingly trivial, everyday errors, the slips, the forgetting, the misplacing, they aren't just random noise. They can actually carry significant psychological meaning. They offer potential glimpses into our unconscious desires, our inner conflicts, our hidden intentions.
Yeah, it really shines a light on Freud's whole concept of the unconscious, doesn't it? How powerful it is, influencing us in ways we don't even notice most of the time. Even these tiny little actions can be surprisingly revealing about what's going on underneath.
Precisely. His work on this really underscored the vast active mental world operating below the level of our conscious awareness. These everyday errors are kind of constant, subtle reminders of that hidden landscape inside us.
So maybe the next time you catch yourself saying something completely unintended, or you forget that thing you definitely knew, or you just cannot find your glasses, maybe just pause for a second. Ask yourself, could there be something more to this? Could this little glitch actually be a surprisingly insightful peek into the amazing, complex workings of your own mind?